And just like that, spring has begun. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the 2022 Nestbox series. Hello and good day. We have Miley here starting off our day, trying to coax Biddy into the nest box. And we can see him hunker down in the corner as males do as females are about to arrive, and then she jumps in the box. And I've often described this behaviour as a great way to tell which is your male and which is your female. And there we have Biddy hopping in now. And if you're a fan of the Nestbox series, you would have seen in the last 2 years, in the last two Nestbox series, that Biddy unsuccessfully nested the past 2 years. Meaning she didn't manage to get any chicks to fledging. In year 1, she managed to get tangled up in her own nest and managed to destroy the nest, and I actually had to rescue her. In year 2, she was a bit unlucky with bad weather and couldn't find enough food for the chicks to help them survive. And this was a kind of scene all across the country that year. But the past is the past and she has put that all behind her. Cause just look, she brings in the tiniest little bit of nesting material. I've seen them bring in this material before. It's very different than the other mossy stuff. It seems to be pine needles of some sort or the other. I always do wonder what's its purpose. Maybe a natural herbicide, who knows? But this was a sure sign that she has chosen this nest box to raise her chicks. And I will say this year, this is the only nest box that I am getting interest in where the birds are concerned. The other nest boxes with the brand new, spanking new cameras are being ignored, unfortunately, but sure, nature doesn't go by anyone else's routine. But fortunately, we are getting loads of attention at this box, and just look at this. A bird is checking out the nest box, and when it goes in, whether it be Miley or another bird, just look at this posturing. That is some fabulous displays from that bird, and you can really see the details in their feathers. They are just stunning little birds. But what that bird is doing is it is making itself look big and terrifying to try to discourage whatever other bird is trying to get into the nest box. And we had a couple of other visits throughout the day as well. Some of a pair of Bluetits and then another of Biddy and Miley. I can only really tell them apart when they do a proper nest swap, as when the pair of Bluetits that we haven't named come in, the female doesn't look scruffy. In fact, the male and the female look very similar. It is really only when Biddy comes in with her scruffy face that I actually know it's them. But this has got Biddy all fired up, and she finally lays claim to the nest box by bringing in her first bit of proper material. And she admires her work for a little bit, even tempting to do a little bit of a nesting shuffle. But then eventually decides, no, she needs another bit. So other than the tiniest little bit more material brought in on the 23rd, there wasn't a lot more brought in until about the 27th, which we just jumped to now. And you may have noticed I've sped up this because they are going to go into a fit of nest building and there's just too much footage to show you it real time. I don't know about you, I personally love time-lapse footage. It really shows the progress building and building and building. So that's going to be the format of the nest building videos. But don't worry, I'll throw in some real-time videos like this every so often, when she has an impressive piece of moss brought in, followed by an even more impressive nesting shuffle. I could show you a couple of clips from each day, but what I find happens then is you miss out on a whole lot of action. One clip, there's not a lot of moss in there, and then I show you some clips from the following day, and then there's suddenly a bucket of moss. But time-lapse helps with that. So Biddy really goes into nest building mode on the 27th. She really starts bringing in the material like there's no tomorrow. And I personally feel like she started the whole nesting a little bit early. But I think I'm just worried about what happened her last year, and hopefully that doesn't happen this year, as I would personally love to see this bird rear some chicks. After 2 years of failures, can you imagine the third time the charm? What a story that would be to tell. Nest building doesn't seem to be a straightforward act for these birds. Moss is brought in, some pieces of moss are brought back out and left outside, and even some pieces of moss are brought outside and then brought back inside. So, who knows, there may be method in the madness. I, for one, haven't figured it all out myself. If you know something, throw it down in the comments. Let me know. Maybe you've heard something I haven't. But even with the moss being taken out as much as it's being taken in, we can slowly see progress is being made. More material is being kept in the box than being taken out. Slowly but surely. How the process usually goes is she'll bring in a little bit of material, do a little bit of a head toss, throw it around the nest box, and then followed by loads of nesting shuffles. And if you are new to the channel and you're wondering what in God's name is a nesting shuffle, it's that shuffle that you're seeing the birds do when they spread out the wings and give themselves a little bit of a wiggle, slowly pushing back that nesting material. And this is indeed how they build their nest. They continue to bring in material over and over again, continue to do the nesting shuffle, pushing that material outwards, until eventually it becomes compact, and what's left is a little Bluetit sized nest cup. We see here she has decided to start bringing in some dried grass, and I've noticed Biddy do this for the last 2 years actually. Early on in the nest building, there's a lot of dried grass brought in more than moss. Then moss becomes more apparent, and then followed by feathers and anything fluffy and soft that the birds can find. Let's hope no human hair is found. We all know what happened in the first year with that. And as we can see, there's some fair progress being made over the last 2 to 3 hours. We can start to see that moss being compacted against the walls, and that behaviour will just continue and continue, as I said, until we have a small Bluetit shaped nest cup. And then on the 28th, we actually had a visit of a grey tit. We can see it here on the morning of the 28th at around 8 o'clock, and it actually decides eventually to get in and have a look. Another fabulous bird in its own right, but if it's decided to take this nest, well, there wouldn't be too much Biddy and Miley would be able to do about it. It does seem to have a really good look round, but doesn't stay too long and heads off. But that doesn't deter our Biddy. Nothing ever does, and she starts bringing in loads more moss, and the nest building continues on the 28th. Biddy really seems to be taking this nest building seriously, even at this early stage of the game. She is really going for it. And if you have happened to catch my live stream attempts, you would have seen that the nest at this stage, as I speak on the 12th of April, like the nest is pretty much fully complete. So you can imagine how much nest building is going to go on from the 28th to the 14th. So there's loads of footage coming your way soon of nest building. The live streaming continues just to cut out in the middle of the night. I'm not exactly sure why that's happening, and I can't seem to get to the bottom of the problem. And as I don't live at my parents' place, I'm not there to fix it first thing in the morning. So at the moment, I don't see how the live stream is going to go on ahead. I haven't given up just yet, but don't worry and don't fret, as all footage is being recorded and will be brought to you like this anyhow. So you guys are not going to miss a thing. And just at the end of the video, we have another interesting bit of behaviour. If you saw there and looked closely, it was Miley with a little green caterpillar in its mouth. You can see it there, and it decides to gobble it up. It was a gift for Biddy, I would imagine, but he eats it up and ends up not feeding her. So she hops in, none the wiser that she just missed out on a little morsel of food. But that also tells us that there's some green caterpillars out there at the moment. And I would say that is what is driving this nest building. There is perfect food for the chicks out there at the moment. So these birds are on overdrive to try to get some chicks into this world while that food source is around. And as Biddy brings out a bit of material and proceeds to bring it back in, that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I hope you are looking forward to the next one. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really helps me and YouTube's algorithm to get noticed. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again. Bye bye.